I'm Briley Rossiter, and here for story time, this is Spotlight Saturday, episode 201. Everyone. So currently I'm back home in Virginia Beach in my old bedroom, and I thought that this time when we're all kind of stuck at home would be a great time to do something I've never done before, and that is to do a online book reading. So if you're not aware, I wrote this book, Born an Angel, back in 2013 when I was in middle school, and since then I've done probably dozens of book readings at schools, libraries, and other events like that, but I've never actually done it online. So I thought it'd be a perfect time for your family, your kids, to listen to a story, and if you have it at home, maybe even grab the book and read along. So something that you may not know is that there's actually 2 editions of Born an Angel, and the way you can tell is by the little yellow tab in the corner. The first edition is the original one that was published back when I was in middle school, and then the other one is a second printing that we had done after we sold all of the first one, and it actually has some fun updates. So today I'm going to be reading the second edition, and if you have the first edition, it may be fun to kind of see the differences. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get in. Born an Angel. When I found out that I was going to have a little sister joining our family of 3, I was afraid. Before she was born, I was the only child and never left my mom's side. Being her only child, I was her favorite child and did not want to share her with anyone. I have that page memorized, most pages. I was only 2 years old when my baby sister was born. We named her Ainsley. Once I saw how tiny and innocent she was, I didn't mind sharing Mom with her. Ainsley was absolutely beautiful. Who would have guessed on that cold December night when Ainsley entered our world that my life would change forever? For years, Mom had dreamed of having 2 little girls. They would play dress up, have tea parties, and play with dolls for hours on end. Mom would finally get to experience her own little princesses, laughing, running around the house, and growing up together. She would make us tea and cut toast into little triangles while we imagined life as members of the royal family. Mom's dream only lasted for a little while, as by Ainsley's 2nd birthday, she still wasn't walking. My mom, dad, and I knew something wasn't right. We brought Ainsley to the hospital, and she had test after test and therapy upon therapy, and nobody knew what was wrong. I was really scared, and I realized I was still afraid like I was that day when Ainsley was born, but now in a different way. A sister I didn't think I wanted to begin with, I now knew I didn't want to be without. It's sort of funny how things change as time passes. After months of testing, we finally found a doctor who knew what was wrong with Ainsley. He was a neurologist and had only heard of one other case like it in all of his years of medicine. He explained that Ainsley is one of only a few people in the United States with a disease called infantile neuroaxonal dystrophy, INAD for short. An illness as ugly as it sounds. INAD is an extremely rare genetic disorder that causes Ainsley's nerves to slowly stop working. The doctor told us she had a life expectancy of only 5 to 10 years. As quickly as my life changed when Ainsley entered my world, now it changed again. Ainsley's different than I am, but she's still my sister. Ainsley rides in a wheelchair and is unable to walk and talk. She doesn't play for fun and cannot laugh with her friends. Ainsley isn't able to go to school, but she has a teacher that comes to the house once a week to read and do crafts with her. She can no longer eat through her mouth, so Mom and Dad feed her using a special tube that goes right into her stomach. Our goal is to make Ainsley's life as memorable as possible for her and to make sure that she enjoys every moment. One day, Ainsley's physical therapist introduced our family to a local running group that participated in road races. The group was called Team Hoyt Virginia Beach and was inspired by Massachusetts native father-son team Dick and Rick Hoyt. They have competed in over 1,000 races. The physical therapist told us that the disabled children and adults can compete in and enjoy athletic events with able-bodied participants. These disabled athletes are pushed and pulled over the land and through the water using special equipment. The physical therapist gave us the date of their next race, and our whole family left the office with huge smiles on our faces and a warm feeling in our hearts. Mom would finally get to see her little princesses playing together as she once imagined. After watching my sister participate with so many other disabled children and adults, and watching them being pushed by angels, including my own dad, I became inspired to run too. Running was something that no one thought Ainsley would ever be able to enjoy, let alone something we would enjoy together. After sitting on the sidelines for her entire life, Ainsley was finally able to go, to run, to roll with the wind. I began running alongside my dad and Ainsley nearly every weekend, and became the youngest angel on Team Hoyt, Virginia Beach. I quickly learned that running in races was fun, but it was also a lot of work, and could be extremely nerve-wracking. Ainsley and I would stand with the other competitors, waiting for the starter's gun to go off. I could feel my heart begin to race before we even rolled across the starting line. I know Ainsley's heart was beating fast too. I would often find myself at the starting line with Ainsley, waiting for my race, our race, to begin. Imagine this. I'm stretched and hydrated. 5, booms the voice of the race director behind the microphone. My shoelaces are tied into 2 tight knots. 4, my race bib is securely fastened to my shirt. 3, the restless crowd falls silent. 2, I order myself to calm down as I take 1 final deep breath. 1, I bend over the racing chair ready to strike. The horn blows, signaling the start. Let's do this, Ains, I yell to Ainsley over the roar of the crowd, and off we go. Since Ainsley and I ran our first race, together we've participated in over 30 races, and Ainsley and my dad have done 100 races of varying lengths. They even completed the Marine Corps full marathon together in Washington, D.C., which is an amazing 26.2 miles long. Ainsley and I have also ran in a 5K alongside Dick and Rick Hoyt themselves. Dad says watching us cross the finish line in step with the Hoyts was one of the highlights of his life. I think Ainsley probably feels the same way. Crossing the finish line in step with the legends that made all of this possible was a memory to behold. Nearly everything that I've been able to do in my entire life, Ainsley cannot do. Ainsley can't walk or talk or laugh. She can't jump or play with dolls, ride a bike, or chase butterflies. She can't even truly participate in the tea party that Mom envisioned for so long. But there is one thing that Ainsley's able to do better than anyone I've ever met. One thing I could never even begin to do without her, and one thing she certainly does even better than me. Ainsley inspires. Ainsley has inspired thousands of people all over the country. You can't meet Ainsley without being inspired, and you always leave with a smile on your face, that familiar lump in your throat, and warmth in your heart. Recently, the legend of Ainsley grew even larger and wider as she inspired yet another person, our aunt. Like everyone else that Ainsley meets, our aunt was inspired to do something amazing. After watching all the fun that we were having running with Ainsley in Virginia, she decided to start running and spreading Ainsley's inspiration in Louisiana, where our family roots remain. After experiencing the joy of pushing Ainsley in a race, our aunt and Ainsley's former preschool teacher in North Carolina joined with Dad and many others to create inclusive running groups across the United States. Ainsley has inspired many others, from family and friends to neighbors and doctors. She inspires nearly everyone who has the pleasure to meet her. It's hard to imagine that one day Ainsley will be gone, a day closer to us than I choose to think about. But as I sit and think about all of the people that she's touched, I realize that Ainsley will leave behind a beautiful thing, a legacy that will live on forever. Love you, Angel. The end. Well, I hope you enjoyed the book. Before we go, because I'm having way too much fun to stop, I want to talk about a few fun things about the book, and then maybe do a little model Q&A, because after book readings we always do question and answers, and it's by far my favorite part. So this is kind of like a little behind the scenes of the book. I hope you enjoy. So the first thing I want to point out about the book, both editions, is this part in the beginning, which is really cool because I wrote this when I was in 5th grade for my school newspaper, and I won't read through it right now, but if you have the copy, you can read along at home. But basically this was kind of like my introduction into writing and into writing about Ainsley, and this is really what inspired me to write the rest of the book later on when that became a possibility. Another cool thing is in the back we have a glossary of terms, which is just kind of fun. So some terms that younger kids may not be familiar with that most of us know very well being in the running world. And then behind that page is about the author, and there's some pretty big differences between this book and the first book, because Ainsley passed away between the writing of the first one and the publishing of the second one. So there is a little section included in the about the author mentioning that, and then some fun pictures of Ainsley and I. What else? So I think we can go ahead and do some question and answer. If, Dad, I'm putting you on the spot, but if you have any questions that we typically hear at book readings, like big popular questions.
Yeah, you've had dozens of book readings, and every time the questions just blow my mind, whether it's a first grader or a 5th grader or even adults. And they always wanted to know about like when your birthday is and when Ainsley's birthday is and what your favorite color is.
Especially with younger kids, we would really get into those types of questions. Yeah.
And so the other things that would come up is they would ask you, there was like no filter. They would ask you directly, where is Ainsley?
Mm-hmm.
And you would have to explain that to her and to them. And sometimes they would ask you, do you miss Ainsley?
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess I would pose those questions to you. So like, where is Ainsley? You know?
Right. Yeah, so that's something interesting about the journey with the book, because obviously a lot of things have stayed the same. My connection with Ainsley's Angels and a lot of the stuff in the book, and the fact that I pretty much have every page memorized, all of that stays the same from every book reading. But at some point, Ainsley passed away. And I remember thinking, like, how am I going to do book readings now if Ainsley's not up there on the stage with me? Like, that's going to be crazy. That doesn't even make sense. And that was a big kind of transition, obviously, in every aspect of life, but even doing book readings. So if you don't know, Ainsley passed away in 2016, and the 4-year anniversary just passed on February 23rd. And it doesn't get easier every year. There's new challenges, and we, of course, miss her every single day. But I think that doing these book readings is an opportunity to really connect to her legacy and remind me of something that we did together, something that we shared that I think is an even stronger bond, Rocky agrees, than running. Like, running, I think, really bonded my dad and Ainsley, and of course me too, but I think where that really came out and really shined, is when we would do book readings together, and the connection that we have, where I feel like I can be her voice, which, yeah, is something really special.
They would also always ask how she eats would come up.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was tube fed. So how would you answer those students that were like, well, how does she eat?
Yeah, so it depends on the age range, because some kids just really, I feel like, are too young to fully grasp some of the concepts like a feeding tube and stuff like that. I guess the basic answer is that my mom is Ainsley's greatest caretaker, and she was, my dad too, of course, but she was really the one that was making sure that Ainsley was getting her needs met, just like a baby. When a baby is hungry, you don't really know, maybe they'll cry, but Ainsley didn't cry like that. So it's a matter of keeping to a schedule, knowing her needs, and being right there every step of the way, and being able to basically read her mind, just like a baby. And my mom was amazing at that. Like, it's crazy.
Was there any book reading in particular that stands out to you? That when I say book reading, that you remember immediately, like a setting or a location or anything like that?
I remember a lot of the book readings, like a lot of them, because it's kind of a big deal, especially I was kind of a shy kid, so the idea of like being on a stage, it's like a big thing. Without a doubt, every time I read the book, not even just when I think about this event, but anytime I read the book, I remember the first time that I read it at Dick and Rick Hoyt's house. We were outside in the grass, and there was a table set up. I remember what I was wearing, and I remember my hair was straightened. Like, I remember every single thing about it, and I remember where Dick and Rick Hoyt were sitting, and then there was an audience of people kind of in the grass at their home in Massachusetts. And without a doubt, I think about that every single time that I read the book. It takes me right back to that, because it was such a different time for me. Like, I had no clue what was going to come from the book or from my life, and I remember being so scared sitting there and sharing the book, but now it's like comes pretty easily to me. So just seeing that growth is really cool too, and of course the impact of that experience stays with me too.
I never knew that. That's beautiful. That was a great day, a wonderful day at the Hoyt's house, and I too remember the many opportunities we had to go and celebrate with the Hoyts, and just such a wonderful family, and so inviting, and so grateful for their example.
I think for people that are members of Ainsley's Angels and maybe are newer to the family, or even if they are have been in the organization for a long time, they may not really know or realize kind of where it all began, which is one of my favorite things about the book, because I think it really pays tribute to the origins of Ainsley's Angels, because we have such fond memories of going to the Hoyt's house and being part of Team Hoyt and doing those experiences, and now to be able to see not only the origins of it, but all of the growth, and that the origins aren't lost, but that it's become so much bigger than just what it started as. And I think that's really, really cool. And the more you think about it, the more it's just mind-blowing. When I think back to being younger and doing those things to now, I don't know, it's really inspiring.
What do you want people to do with this book as you have worked through the first version, edition of selling almost over 5,000 copies of those, and now you have another 5,000. You've worked through almost half of those in distribution, so there's about 2,000 books left available for people. What do you want to see happen with those remaining 2,000 books, and will there ever be a third edition?
Well, it really depends on if people like the book still and still are purchasing those extra 2,000. I never want to be in a spot where there's no more Born an Angel and it's like you can't get it anymore. I think that would just be sad. So I would love to have a third edition if it comes to that. If you're at home and you don't have the book, I definitely would say go on the website and purchase it. All of the proceeds of the book from the beginning, from the first day it was sold to now, go back to Ainsley's Angels. And that's something that I'm really proud to say. It's written down here on the bottom front of the book too. So even if you already have the book, it's something great to donate to a school or a library, or as a gift, something like that. I just think I'm proud of it and I love it a lot and would love people to keep loving it with me.
That's perfect. I think that's a great place to end. We're very proud of you. We appreciate you taking the time today to share this story on episode 201.
Absolutely.
What do you think about that?
Well, that's crazy too. Yeah, because I was with you the very first episode when it started. It was kind of our idea. So the transformation of Spotlight is a whole other thing that we could talk about. But yeah, the journey has been long on all fronts, but it's not stopping anytime soon. And it's exciting to be a part of it. And thank you guys for all the support. There's been immense support behind Born an Angel, whether it's you guys purchasing and sharing the book or gifting the book to people, coming up to me at events and expos, asking me to sign it, inviting me to book readings or doing book readings yourself. All of that is just so incredible to see, and I appreciate each and every one of you for the role that you play in Ainsley's Angels. So with that, stay safe these next couple weeks or months or whatever it may be, and beyond. Just always stay safe and stay happy and kind, and I'll see you soon.